Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.
Welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. Here now is your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to Westmoreland Community Connections. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce, Chad Amond. I am delighted to have on the show today Lauren Buches. She is the Executive Director of the Latrobe Art Center, and Mike Dudurich. He is the media writer for the Latrobe Chamber of Commerce, Greater Latrobe-Laurel Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I'm delighted to have you on the show. I am going to start this off by saying it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It certainly is today.
Yeah, right. But it's always a beautiful day in our neighborhood. And we're going to talk about the Mr. Rogers Family Day. But I want to kick it off by getting your background. Lauren Buches, she is the executive director of the Latrobe Art Center. How did you get involved with the Latrobe Art Center?
Well, that's a very good question. I actually grew up in Greater Latrobe School District, so I went through elementary school through high school there. Graduated in 2006. Left for about 10 years, went and got my, I have 2 degrees in journalism and history. I wound up back in Westmoreland County, and when the position opened up at the Latrobe Art Center, I just knew it was a perfect fit for me. Was just really excited to get involved with this community center. The cool thing about the Art Center is that it really didn't kick off until when I was in high school, and it really took off after I left. So it was quite eye-opening to come back and see how much the community had embraced the Art Center when I came back in 2016.
Yeah, it is fabulous. It's a great place. You need to check it off the bucket list. And the passport for the Westmoreland Heritage, that's on the passport. The chamber office is on the passport, and the Latrobe Art Center is on the passport. So
exactly, it's one of the easier ones to check off too, because we don't charge admission to see the Art Center.
Right. So, Mike, what is your background, and how did you get in contact with the Latrobe Art Center and Mr. Rogers Family Day?
My background is that I had a pretty nice career as a sports writer for the Trib for 29 years. When I left there, I found myself with nothing much to do. And I went to a dinner, listened. It was a chamber dinner, and I was interested. Talked to the president the next day. We met, and I've become the media writer since. So it's been about 4 or 5 years that I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah,
right. Well, what is the genesis of Mr. Rogers Family Day? Mr. Rogers, he has been such an impact on our, not just Latrobe, not just Westmoreland County, not just Pittsburgh, the nation and the world. I'm getting goosebumps for Mr. Rogers. But what was the genesis of Mr. Rogers Family Day? It's going to be held June 8th, I'm correct, from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m.
3:30 p.m.
Oh, 3:30 p.m.
Yes.
But how did it start?
I believe it started mostly as a way to kind of commemorate Mr. Rogers' influence on just families and just kids and families in general. And it started, I believe, back in 2016 as something, just a community day, a free community day that parents and kids could come to and just enjoy being with each other and doing things that make childhood lots of fun. So this is not like a festival where we're trying to grab profits or anything like that. I mean, a lot of the things are either donated or underwritten by community sponsors. So it really focuses on the fact that this is for families to get together to do the things that make childhood fun.
Yeah.
2016 was when the Fred Rogers statue was unveiled in James Rogers Park. And this kind of was a spin-off from that. People were very interested, came to see it, and they still do get their pictures taken with Mr. Rogers sitting on a bench in the park. It's a really cool statue, and I just want to say one thing back to what you said about him being such an iconic figure. And it's funny when you think about it. He and Arnold Palmer both graduated from Latrobe High School, and they're both that way. They're both icons around the world. You know, you say the name Arnold Palmer, and then people think of Latrobe. Same thing with Fred Rogers. It's kind of amazing when you think about it.
So you graduated from Latrobe,
yes.
Lauren. I mean, all my 4 kids are graduating from Latrobe, and so it's an impact for them. I mean, they walked every day past the Mr. Rogers and Arnie Palmer, the paintings and stuff like that in the high school, and so but. You know, the statue of Mr. Rogers sitting in the park bench is located in James Rogers Park. How much attraction has that become since the dedication? I see on Facebook probably 3 times or 5 times a week for people getting their picture next to Mr. Rogers.
It's definitely an attraction. We actually have tourists who come in from not just out of town, but out of the state, sometimes from across the country. They'll come into the Art Center to buy some of the merchandise that we sell there that's Mr. Rogers. And if they can't find the statue, they'll come in there and ask where it is. But you're right. I see it on Facebook and Twitter all the time, too, just photos of people with Mr. Rogers. He is such a pop culture icon, and one that I think that people relate to because he feels like their friend. I mean, he's everybody's neighbor, and he's one of our heroes that hasn't fallen, you know. So it's just something so very pure and good about it, which we see the traffic coming in. We see people making the pilgrimage to the statue and taking the photos. So I even see sometimes people leave flowers at the statue or little notes.
Right. Well, here's a bucket list thing for me. I want to sit next to. I've sat next to him, but I want to make sure that I'm putting on the sweater and putting on my tennis shoes. That's a bucket list thing for me. But I need to do that.
So, he's not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, right. So. What can the visitors expect when they get to Latrobe on the 8th of June?
There's going to be fun, and I know this is a cliche, but they're going to be fun. There's going to be fun for everybody. We have all kinds of activities for kids, bouncy house and climbing wall and crafts, and there'll be entertainment right in the middle of Latrobe with dancers and all kinds of stuff like that. We'll have food vendors. You can't have a day without food vendors.
Right.
And they better have funnel cake too, by the way. There's all kinds of stuff. There's going to be a historical film being shown in the Quattrini Rafferty building of old photos from back when, who knows how far back, of
1950s
Latrobe. 1950s, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a wide variety of things. Pony ride. Oh yeah. So what am I missing?
Well,
so it's not just going to be in the James Rogers Park. It's the streets are going to be closed and stuff like that.
Yes, we have the streets closed from Jefferson Street, which is one of the main thoroughfares coming in there, to past Ligonier Street, I think to South Alexandria Street, and then from Weldon Street to Depot Street. And so that will provide safety for families to walk around in that perimeter. The performances will be occurring at the center of Main Street and Ligonier Street. So since everything will be blocked off, of course, that's a good place to have them. We'll also be having Daniel Tiger and Katarina Kitty Cat will be showing up. They'll be at the Latrobe Art Center. WQED, PBS will be there as well for some activities for kids.
Oh, nice.
The Eastern Westmoreland Technology Career Center will have silkscreen printing for the first 300 kids that show up. And some of the other, we'll actually also have some Fred Rogers memorabilia there from the Fred Rogers Center. I don't know exactly what that will be, but it'll be fun to see what that is.
Yeah, right. Well, is the trolley going to be there?
Yes, the trolley from St. Vincent College is going to be there. It won't be driving around. It will be parked at the end of the one street, but, kids will be able to get on it and have fun with that.
Well, whenever I was a kid, maybe I was in college, but I drove the train for Idlewild.
I did too.
Oh my!
Oh boy,
you did?
Yes.
I didn't know that, but that was the most fun thing because you passed the trolley for Mr. Rogers.
Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, it was an outstanding thing.
That's definitely the best job at Idlewild.
Yeah. Well, given my role with the as president of the Westmoreland County Chamber, it's impacting the businesses. And so, what are the businesses saying, and are they accepting that? And so, if like 3,000 people come and stuff like that. I don't know how many people attend, but it's impacting the businesses and stuff like that. And so what are you getting the feedback from the local businesses?
Our businesses in downtown Latrobe, they love these type of events because it opens up their doors to people who may not necessarily be able to come by when they are open, or even know that they're there. So we actually have 8 of our businesses are involved with the trivia stroll with Fred Rogers-based or Mr. Rogers neighborhood-based questions. So those businesses include Chikora's Boutique, Eclectique, Grey Dog Comics and Toys, Latrobe Art Center, The Medicine Shop, Paper Heart Affairs, Rose Style Shop, and Terry's Gourmet Sweet Treats, which is a relatively new business in the downtown area. So they're all involved. Everyone can go to these businesses. They get asked a trivia question. If they answer it correctly, they get a Mardi Gras bead of a certain color. And then once they collect all 8, they can come back to the Quatrini Rafferty building to enter into a raffle for a prize basket.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, right.
So the businesses they run out of beads every year.
Good. Well, that's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem, yeah.
Right. So you're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guests today are Mike Dudurich. He is the media writer for the Greater Latrobe-Laurel Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Lauren Buches. I'm missing that. I mean,
Must
he
be a
or she.
gender
Yeah,
swap
right.
day.
She is the executive director for the Latrobe Art Center. And if you haven't been to the Latrobe Art Center, you need to make sure that you go. And so what time are the doors open for the Latrobe Art Center?
We are open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And so, Mike, what is your perspective on how have the local organizations become active in the celebration?
I think it's reflective of the event itself. The more this is held every year, more and more local organizations have gotten involved, and the list includes places like Adams Memorial Library, Fred Rogers Center, EWCTC, the Eastern Westmoreland Career and Technology Center, the Greater Latrobe-Laurel Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce, Greater Latrobe School District, Latrobe Area Historical Society, Latrobe Art Center, and the Greater Latrobe School District Parks and Recreation, and as Lauren mentioned, WQED. So we have from the business side some pretty nice participation. I think it's amazing how it's grown over these first 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And just to add on to that, actually, a new addition to this year's Mr. Rogers Family Day is the Collector's Car Show that we have. This is the first annual one. This features antique, classic, and modern vehicles. So this is something for you have some kids that really like cars, or even just some, parents that maybe want something a little more, for them as well. It's going to be by the Marco's Pizza parking lot, so it's just a block over from where all the kids' activities are happening.
Wow, maybe I can. My dad just retired, and so he bought a Corvette. And so maybe I can borrow that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Right. We're talking about Mr. Rogers Family Day on Saturday, June 8th, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in downtown Latrobe. You're listening to Westmoreland County Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Westmoreland Community Connections on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. If you have a suggestion for a topic, or if your nonprofit organization would like to be featured on this program, call us during regular business hours at 724-216-1200.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.
Welcome back. You're listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. I'm your host, Chad Amond, President and CEO of the Westmoreland County Chamber of Commerce. Our guests today are Mike Dudurich. He is the media writer for the Greater Latrobe-Laurel Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Lauren Buches. She is the executive director for the Latrobe Art Center, and they are going to hold a Mr. Rogers Family Day on Saturday, June 8th, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Lauren, tell the listeners, is there any admission charge or parking fees or something like that?
There is no admission charge, and there are no parking fees. Downtown Latrobe actually has free parking on Saturdays, so all you have to do is show up, bring some money maybe to spend on some food vendors and some farmers market vendors that are selling some goods. But otherwise, most of the activities are free.
Okay, so we talked about some of the activities. I mean, maybe summarize for those people that just got on and summarize the activities for Mr. Rogers Family Day.
Well, the focus is children's activities, of course. So we'll be having face painting, balloons, games for kids. We'll also have pony rides, hay rides, and the hay rides will be $5 each, but the pony rides are free.
Okay.
There'll be a bouncy house. We'll also have food vendors and Latrobe farmers market vendors, of course. The St. Vincent trolley will be there for kids to explore. There will also be Daniel Tiger and Katerina Kitty Cat in person to take photos with at the Art Center. We also will have some stand-up foam core Daniel Tiger and Friends characters in James H. Rogers Park. You can also take photos with the Fred Rogers statue in James H. Rogers Park as well. We'll also have a trivia stroll for families go around to the different local merchants and ask questions about. They'll be asked questions about Mr. Rogers trivia and be able to get a chance to win prizes that way. And finally, there'll be demonstrations by and live entertainment by various different local groups, including Laurel Valley Academy of Dance, Frat Adams, Same Moon, Stage Right, Ground Zero Pittsburgh's Little Brutes, and Petrolio's Karate Campus.
Oh, right. Well, Petrolio's Karate Campus was just on a former show for Westmoreland County Community Connections, and so is one of the things going to be interaction with the parents and the kids?
Yes. So I mean, a lot of this is also to introduce, children and families to different activities they can do in their local area. Mm-hmm. Little Brutes, they're kind of more of a self-defense sort of group, from my understanding. But, it's just learning at a younger age, and of course it's in a very controlled setting. So that'll be a nice demonstration to see as well. And then, of course, Laurel Valley, they were there last year, did some beautiful work. We have some beautiful photographs from them. and we would love to see what they're coming up with this year.
Yeah.
The Stage Right actually was there for our Holly Jolly Christmas in Latrobe. Don't believe they were here last year for Mr. Rogers Family Day, but we're very happy to have them here this year. They always do a terrific job.
Tony Marino,
yes.
he interacts with our he's the owner of Stage Right.
I love Tony.
He interacts with our leadership Westmoreland program, and he gets so much positive feedback. It's awesome.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the Stage Right is awesome.
They do a wonderful job.
Well, I'm going to shift it over to Mike and ask a question. Is it rain or shine?
It is rain or shine.
Okay, good.
We've had pretty good weather, as I remember.
Last year was dodgy.
It was dodgy,
but it held out.
It did till like 2:30 before the first raindrops fell. But yeah, rain or shine, the show will go on.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, in southwestern Pennsylvania, I mean, my son's baseball games are being canceled all the time, but I just needed to make sure that the listeners understood.
Yep.
I mean, just bring an umbrella. It's, you don't have to shovel rain, right?
No, you don't. Thank goodness.
So, is King Friday going to be there? And he's going to be the king on Friday, right? And he's going to be a volunteer on Saturday, right?
Unfortunately, he will not be there. No, but I don't know.
I haven't heard King Friday mentioned in all this.
No,
yeah, right.
One thing that's new this year, if I can throw this in now, the students at EWCTC have put together a 6-foot tall Daniel Tiger, and it's being painted or is painted at the Art Center. This Daniel Tiger is going to be placed in front of the post office in Latrobe. As you're coming across the new bridge, you'll see him right in front of you, and they've set it up so that it has a mechanical arm, and he'll be waving to everybody as you come into Latrobe.
Oh, nice.
How about that?
Yeah. Can you get a selfie with it? you need to make sure that you're promoting and make a selfie for Daniel Tiger.
Oh, I might be one of the first people to get a selfie with it when
it
gets put
up. Right.
And the paint was donated by Sherwin-Williams too. So we've had a lot of and the ply was donated by Lowe's. So we've actually had a lot of local support from those different corporations.
Yeah. Well, we talked along the break that the Westmoreland Chamber did the ribbon cutting for Clearview School, and they train disabled students and students with mental health, and so they did like 250 artwork for the Mr. Rogers, and they did like King Friday and Mr. Rogers and stuff like that, and he's impacting our community and Latrobe and the nation and the world so much. But another question: how much has this event grown since its inception?
Well, I think Mike might be able to speak better to that since he was there from the inception.
It's that first year. It was okay. There were people walking around, but at times it got a little lonely. Mm-hmm. And the funny part is, as you know, Lauren, and I'm sure you do, Chad, too, when the kids come in to perform, whatever they're doing, dancing, whatever, you get this big rush of people, mom and dad and grandpa and grandma, they want to come see their kid. When that group's done, those folks disappear.
Oh, yeah, right.
Sometimes they walk around. But last year, we had a really good crowd.
Oh, good.
And really good crowd most of the day, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And like Lauren said, it was a little dodgy with the weather. But it has grown into a pretty solid event, I would say. And it's, still, this is the third year. So still growing, still learning. And
right.
I think the committee has done a pretty good job of putting together all the aspects of this. So we're pretty pleased.
We actually have an active Facebook page for the event, Mr. Rogers Family Day. And we really started amping up with posts about featuring different events going on during the day, and the response has been terrific. We get hundreds of hits on each post. People are sharing it with their friends, trying to tag. This would be great to take, to do with the kids. We want to do more stuff with the kids this summer. So we're happy that we believe it's reached a couple thousand people at this point who might actually be interested in it. And, we're still a couple weeks away, so we still have some time.
Well, my wife and I have it on our calendar, and so we're trying to bring 4 kids. But if you go on to MrRogersFamilyDay.org,
actually, if you go on to LatrobeArtCenter.org.
Oh, okay. LatrobeArtCenter.org.
Yes, we don't have an actual domain for that.
Okay, yeah. And so if you call the Latrobe Art Center and have any questions, dial 724-537-7011. That's 724-537-7011, or go on to LatrobeArtCenter.org. Is the movie about Mr. Rogers is going to be broadcasted what?
I believe it's supposed to come out the end of this year.
Yeah, right.
Knock on wood.
So Tom Hanks is going to come next year, right?
Oh, we've tried.
That has been discussed at length at the committee meetings.
Right.
I know he's been in Pittsburgh this year resuming filming, but haven't heard him back in the Latrobe area since then. But, the invitation's open to Tom Hanks or anybody else affiliated with the movie to come out and visit.
Right.
Last year was my first Mr. Rogers Family Day, actually, and I will say it was actually a week before I started at the Art Center as the executive director, so I kind of popped in, I guess, to do a little bit of spying.
That's right. Now I remember Lauren walking around,
right,
saying hi to everybody.
But you know what? I didn't know what to expect, and the thing I was very pleasantly pleased by was how focused it was for the age group that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood does aim for, that 3 to 5 years old and even up to preteen age group. And I really think this is a good event to take to kids from ages 3 to 10 or 12 at least.
So, Mike, you have been on the front line of this event each year. And so what have you been most satisfied with the event? Well,
I think 2 things. One, the participation and enthusiastic participation by the local merchant. That's another day they're open, and sometimes they're not open on Saturday. Mm-hmm. But it's an opportunity for people to come see places, like Lauren said, they might not even have known it existed. So on that's one. And the other one is the fact that we're seeing bigger attendance these are the first 2 years. Last year was much better than the first year. And if we can get any kind of decent weather, I think downtown will be very busy that day.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a good problem to have.
It is.
And another good problem to have is you can go to Danny Pastry and get the pretzel donuts and stuff like that, right? That's one of my favorites. I go there probably every week, sometimes.
For business, right?
Yeah, right. So, is there anything? Well, it's the show is ending. Is there anything that you want to make sure that the listeners understand? The Mr. Fred Rogers Family Day is going to be held on Saturday, June 8th, from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in downtown Latrobe, approximately at the Latrobe Art Center nearby. So is there anything else you want to identify for the listeners?
Just bring your kids and be prepared to have a fun time.
All right.
And there'll be good food there, as always.
Okay.
But it's a good time. It's really a good time. You see kids smiling all over the place, and that's the idea.
Yeah.
And no charge admission and free parking.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you want to learn more, go on to LatrobeArtCenter.org or call 724-537-7011. That's 724-537-7011. You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections on Hometown Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB. We were super excited to have Mike Dudurich. He is the media writer for the the Latrobe Chamber, and Lauren Buches. She is the Executive Director for the Latrobe Art Center. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And make sure that you put on your calendar Mr. Rogers Family Day for Saturday, June 8th from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. You've been listening to Westmoreland Community Connections. Join us next week, same time, same place, for another edition of Westmoreland Community Connections. Thanks for listening, everyone.
This has been Westmoreland Community Connections, a look at issues and happenings in and around Westmoreland County. Join us again next week on Classic Hits 107.1 WHJB.
Westmoreland Community Connections is a presentation of St. Anne Home.